Just what did it mean to get JT done?
Well, obviously, it's been a lot of discussions, a lot of talks here among my staff and JT's camp there. So obviously, it was good to get it done here before camp started.
What turned? Because it seemed like the organization had a number it wasn't going to cross, and then maybe went a little bit above that. What changed in terms of your mindset?
Well, I think it's important when you're doing a deal like this long term. We took our time and look at the roster. Cap situation moving forward obviously is important, and then we looked at the options, what's out there in terms of players being available potentially for next summer. And as I said all the way along here, JT was our best player last year, and he's a super competitive player, and we were really happy to get the contract extension here done.
Where does this leave you room for Bo Horvat? Because he's next, we would assume.
Yeah, Bo is our captain. We respect and we like Bo, and we're communicating with his camp, and we'll see if there is a deal to be made there.
Are you going to have to make moves to make room for him, and is he somebody that you want to have long-term like JT?
Well, we don't have to make moves coming into this season in order to get Bo signed here, but moving forward, we need to be aware of the cap situation and potentially some roster decisions coming into next summer.
JT talked this morning about the peace of mind that getting this deal does for him. As it pertains to Bo, like, how much of a believer are you that these can be a distraction to a player over the course of a season?
Yeah, I mean, that's a reality, I guess. You still have a year left of your contract, and for players, I obviously think that they look at the salary cap and where the teams are, and I think they're being professional, but at the same hand, I think they want to have security as well.
You've talked several times about JT being the best player on this team last year. Can you describe what he brings to this group and what it is that you couldn't find out on the open market?
Well, I think there is always seems to be a competition or a shortage of centermen when you're coming into the open market. In terms of JT, I think over a period of time here, I think he has matured. He has found his game. Super competitive. I think he could dictate an outcome of every single game that we played last year, just based on his performance. I still think we could, or we need to manage his ice time better. I think the second half there, I think his minutes was a little bit too high. I think he has a potential to be even better here. Coming down a little bit, I think he played about 24 minutes, and that's really hard when you're a center there. So if we can help him and spread out the ice time a little bit better, I think he will help this team even more.
How much of him re-signing you, making him such a priority, is a reflection of what you see as his importance to the leadership group of this team?
Yeah, good question. I think that's something we talked about among my staff here, the coaches, where we are today and where we need to be in terms of making the next step here, and having someone like JT showing the way for the younger players. I think it's important.
With the rise in the salary cap coming in a couple seasons, how much did that play into calculating what you could afford to pay him?
Yeah, it definitely calculated a big part of it, but also that the salary cap is going to take a couple of years to get going here. So I think it was important for us to look at all our options and see what the best move was here.
Did you back time the no trade clause to include this season? I understand that's an option.
It is an option. We didn't do that, but I mean, when you're doing a deal like this, we're the plan is for JT to stay here this year and 7 more.
Quickie on Bo, are you optimistic about before training camp getting a deal or before start of the season?
Well, we still continue to talk here, and as I said, we have a lot of respect for Bo, and Bo is our captain here, and he's been a good player for his stint in Vancouver, so hopefully we can figure something out here.
Can you compare the state of those negotiations to maybe where you were at with JT a little while ago, or is it closer, farther apart? You optimistic?
I wouldn't comment anything comparable with those two, but I think every single player is different, how you approach it, and how the path is.
Patrick, you've added a few pieces here and there, but the core has remained intact from what we've seen over the last few years. Is this a vote of confidence in this core group, and this is the core that you want to have moving forward?
Well, I think depending on who the players are that you're putting in the core, but obviously.
You tell me who your core group is.
Well, I think you have a tremendous goalie in Demko, and then you have Quinn Hughes on the back end. You got Pedersen and Miller and Horvat, and I think there's as good of a players players in the league in this age where you believe that they're going to be able to take a next step in order for us to get better.
A lot of people were expecting a bigger roster shakeup this summer. Was it more difficult to make trades than perhaps you anticipated because of the flat cap or anything else?
I think you could say that, and looking around the league, and but also the cost of getting rid of contracts as well. And just the hard part where you have players sign beyond a year, it makes it harder to make those moves.